Hi guys, I've done like a dozen takes of trying to, do some sort of intro to this video that I want to do of the gear that I plan on bringing on this trip. I'm just keep getting frustrated with it, so I'm just going to use this and, just get to it. So this is going to be a video looking at at all the gear that I'm planning on bringing on this bike trip. Something that I wish I would have done for my hiking trip is put together some sort of itemized list of gear that I started out with so that I could compare it to the gear that I ended with. Both for my sake of looking back at, what a big dummy I was for the things that I thought that I needed that I really didn't, but might also have been useful for folks attempting to do the same journey and, have that kind of as a resource up on the internet. When I was planning on doing my trek, I found, general through hiking stuff to be kind of useful, but I was always asking myself, is this really applicable to doing a cross country, ADT style walk? And there was only a few, really good journals concerning gear and things like that about the ADT, and I think it would have been, nice of me to keep better track of my gear so that I could put up a contribution to that resource list. And so what I'm aiming to do right here is to kind of both have a personal record for myself of what I'm bringing on this trip, to share it with the rest of you so you can have an idea of what I'm bringing personally, and also if you're not really familiar with bike touring, what kind of gear might go along with it. And also, if you are familiar with bike touring, maybe being able to shoot me a message or a comment saying, hey, that's really dumb, you don't need that, and that's just extra weight. Or, saying, hey, you missed something that you really need, and you should pick it up before you leave. So that's that, and I guess I'm going to flip this over to checking out some gear. So before I start getting into the weeds onto a lot of this stuff, I wanted to give some big thank yous to the people that have contributed a lot of this gear. First and foremost to Aaron Bible of Nederland, Colorado, who I met while hiking and happened to have a shed full of great hiking gear from his occupation, and gave me a bunch of stuff right off the bat, and also mailed me some later on in my journey. And so for this bike trip, I've got a couple pairs of socks, a nice wool jersey, a great Gore-Tex rain jacket, a really nice blow-up sleeping pad, a warm little beanie, nice pair of little tights, and a pair of really nice waterproof Gore-Tex gloves. Next up, got a nice little rechargeable battery and wonderful rechargeable front light sent from Kevin Osborne of San Luis Obispo, California, back in my hometown. Next up, we have a really warm little balaclava and a pair of riding gloves from Marilyn Pence, the postmaster over in Cairo, West Virginia. Next, the Smith family for this harmonica I'm learning to play to keep myself, company on the road, and a nice little stretch band to keep me nice and limber. To Dogfish Head Brewery for a bitchin' sweatband, keep the sweat out of my eyes. Gary Powers, who I stayed with over in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, gave me this scarf, gonna help keep me warm through those cold desert nights. Crystal Yup for this beautiful little bike pump that's gonna hopefully never see any use, but will be invaluable in an emergency. Goof Urban of Norton, Kansas, and gave me this little knife. Been using it ever since midway through my trip, and thank you, Goof. Got this totally bright little tail light from Curtis and Nina Elwood from Craig, Colorado. This little seashell from the Atlantic coast from Aaron Albee. A so far great pair of motorcycle rain pants that I'm planning on using for bicycle rain pants from my brother Ron Walther out in Honolulu, Hawaii. This bike lock, which is going to keep all my stuff nice and secure, from Jesse Galman of San Francisco, California. This great little bike mirror, which has been working good so far on my test runs, from George Griffin of Five Cities, California. I'm not sure exactly which one, but that's the little city conglomeration back around my hometown. And this little GoPro, which is hopefully going to be seeing a bunch of use on this trip, filming some more videos for you guys, from Janine Plessard, my 9th grade English teacher from Nipomo, California. And, and another funny thing, I was laying some stuff out to give the, little thank you section, and realized that this entire patch right here, plus my sleeping bag right over there, is all from Joe Lounsbury of Pismo Beach, California, who's one of my oldest and best friends, and has been furnishing me with clothing for years and years, and a lot of this stuff is just kind of accumulated, and saw a lot of use on this walk, and is going to be seeing a lot of use on this bike ride. So thanks to Joe, thanks to everybody that contributed their stuff, and I guess I'll be getting into the weeds of what all this gear is, why I've got it, and yeah. Alright, so here's a short little rundown. Well, it's probably not going to be that short, but I'm going to try and keep it kind of short. Little rundown of all the gear I'm bringing and why. So, starting off with pants. I've got my Pearl Izumi bike shorts, which are going to keep my butt nice and relatively unbruised. My Under Armour underwear, for those times that I'm not wearing bike shorts. 2 pairs of long underwear, 1 light pair, 1 heavier pair. I figure I'll bring 2 pairs, one if it starts getting really cold. These are going to be my primary means of keeping my legs warm, so having an extra layer might be nice. And also, I'm imagining I'm going to be sweating a ton on this trip, probably going to be quite a bit stinkier, quite a bit faster than I was on my walk, and so having a spare pair of everything was probably going to be really nice. Next up, got a pair of shorts for all those times you need shorts. Next up, my Riptide pants, which admittedly I've never seen anything like them, but these are the guys that got me across the United States walking, and I figure they're going to do a good job of getting me across the United States biking. They're pretty good at keeping the wind out, well, maybe not the elements, they're not very rainproof, but just an overall good pair of breathable light pants. And then right here, I've got a pair of motorcycle pants that I think are made out of some sort of like Tyvek or something, that are kind of a papery substance. You can kind of hear that. And I've taken them out in the rain once, and they do a pretty good job of keeping my legs dry, which these blue guys definitely do not do. So for those times that I'm riding in the rain or just on rainy days, these will be really useful for keeping my legs dry and hopefully pretty warm. Next up, I got this great little Gore-Tex jacket. It's a, let's see who makes that. Cabela's Guidewear. Fantastic little jacket. Used that on my walk. Kept me super dry, really breathable, pretty light. No insulation, but it's a really good shell layer to keep the elements out. Next up, got a pair of cashmere sweaters. These are really good for hiking, backpacking, long distance biking, because wool retains heat even when it's wet. And so if I'm super sweaty and it's cold out, or if I'm getting rained on, or anything else that would involve me getting wet, even just like a spilled water bottle or something in a saddlebag, these will still keep you relatively warm despite the moisture. I'm bringing 2 of them because I brought that yellow one on the right with me on my walk, and it wasn't quite hot enough on its own, or warm enough that there was a good number of nights when it got mighty cold, and that wasn't quite cutting it. And so I figure, hey, if 1 kind of does it, 2 will probably do the trick, and that'll also kind of afford me having a stinky version and a clean version that I can only use when I really need it, and otherwise keep, maybe for a nighttime jacket or something, and keep it from getting as stinky as the rest of my gear I'm going to be using while I'm riding. Got 2 long sleeve merino wool long sleeves. These are great because they're breathable, they good skin cover. They do a pretty good job of keeping you warm when it's cold and not keeping you too hot when it's warm out. And so I got 2 of them because, again, one's going to probably be a stinky version and the other one's going to be like a nighttime version that I wear to bed or wear when I go into civilization and want to present a less BO-ish version of myself. Then right here we've got a half zip merino wool riding jersey. These are kind of got all the perks of the 2 long sleeves except with shorter sleeves, and that half zip is really good for when you're out riding and you need to cool off a little bit. Right here I've got my Patagonia reversible jacket that I've had for going on a decade now. It's finally just getting a little bit of sun bleach from walking all the way across the country. This does a really good job of keeping the wind out, just kind of being a general good lightweight jacket. Isn't super warm, but really does the trick on those days where it's just a little brisk out, but you don't need something like a heavy-duty cashmere or a super heavy Gore-Tex, rain protector. And also it's a, high vis, bright green, and so that's going to be probably one of my primary pieces of attire when it's not warm out. I'll probably be wearing this. And when it is warm out, I'll be wearing this, which is a high-vis vest, perforated material. Be really good, for those hot days in the desert if it starts warming up, where I can maintain good visibility but not be burning up under, heavy layers of cloth or material. So right here I've got my 4 pairs of gloves, which might be a bit excessive, but one of the general rules I'm thinking is that I can try things out on the ride, seeing as how I'm really inexperienced and don't really know what works, what doesn't. And, if I find something that's extra, I can just end up mailing it home. And it's a lot easier to mail something home than to get something mailed to me. As wonderful as general delivery is, it can still be kind of a pain in the butt. So first off, I've got some Gore-Tex Columbia gloves that do a really good job of keeping the elements out, keeping the hands dry, but have 0 insulation, and so do not do a good job of keeping the hands warm, which is why I have that second pair of black merino wool glove liners, which I've tested out, and they do a really good job of kind of bringing that temperature up under the blue Columbia titanium gloves for when it's both cold and wet out. And the blue gloves do a good job of wind breaking and keeping the cold air from getting in there, and the black gloves do a good job of actually insulating and keeping things warm. These purple guys are homemade mittens that Joe Lounsbury made out of one of his wife's old sweaters, and it's got a little lobster design, so you got 2 fingers, thumb and a finger, and then there are 3 fingers in here. I tried them out once, and they're nice for cool weather, but aren't super good when it gets really cold, so I'm just going to bring them along, give them a shot, mail them home if they're not quite doing the trick, or if they just, aren't getting a lot of use. Lastly, just got my fingerless riding gloves, which I'll be using for those warm days, and, pretty much all the time when it's not super cold. Next up, got my thrift store shoes I'm going to be wearing. These are, see who makes these, Nikes. I don't know anything about them, but they seem to work pretty good. They breathe really well. Not super good for cold days, but that's why I have 3 pairs of wool socks. And, 1 pair of wool socks and 2 pairs of composite socks that are both wool and synthetics. And so, socks are super important when you're walking. I'm imagining also when you're riding. One of them, these full wools, will probably be nighttime socks to keep my feet warm. And switching between these 2 guys, the composites, when I'm out riding. And then lastly, not lastly, but I've got Really nice little balaclava here. I've worn this a couple days out when it's been in the 30s. Great job of keeping the face warm, the nose warm, the mouth warm so it doesn't hurt to breathe in freezing cold temperatures. That's a really good piece of riding gear. And then this little beanie for probably for nighttime or just when it's super cold and I need to keep the head warm. But this might get mailed home if it ends up warming up towards the end of the trip. Got a little bandana that I kind of use for everything. General, hanky, napkin, sweat wiper, face wrapper. Kind of use these things for everything. Scarf, wrap around the neck when it gets super cold, keep me warm. This is going to be kind of my day pack that I'm going to put my wallet and cell phone and things like that into when I go into businesses, town, things like that. Maybe keep some stuff I want to keep close at hand while I'm riding, because this guy doesn't have any back pockets, which is kind of a bummer, but hey, who's complaining? And this guy fits really good, nice and comfy, and I can fit everything I need in it. Sweatband to keep the sweat out of my face. Little stretchy band for stretching out when I get, before I get going and when I get done for the day. Ace bandage, because you always need an ace bandage. Prescription sunglasses, one of the best investments I've ever made. My little bag of knickknacks, postcards, business cards with addresses on them, and a photo from home, and a sticker for inspiration. Got my wallet. Got this little Chromebook that I'm kind of debating on whether it's coming with me or not. It weighs about 1.5 pounds, which is super light. It's really nice for word processing, and I'm going to be figuring out whether it's easier to do video editing on this or on my phone in the next half an hour or so. So that'll kind of dictate whether I bring this with me or not. But it's super light. It does make things a lot more convenient. It's great for, watching Netflix on lonely nights. I guess I would need internet, but there's definitely some perks to bringing the laptop, but there's also the downsides of having to worry about it and also the additional weight. So for electronics, we've got the laptop charger, 2 battery packs, 2 pairs of headphones. One of them's my Bluetooth headphones I've been using that make things a lot more convenient, and then also a regular pair that are leftovers from my walk that I figure good to have a backup if the other ones go down. Little carrying bag for it, and then also this little knockoff GoPro that I have hooked up to my helmet, and I'm probably going to find another mounting option on my bike that I'm going to be trying to do landscape pictures, kind of getting videos of what I'm seeing, what I'm doing, and then also be able to kind of show you what's going on while I talk at my cell phone that I have mounted up, and it's going to be facing me for the trip, so I can kind of narrate what's going on around me in maybe a little split screen video or something like that. Got a harmonica, make some probably horrendous noise. It's going to annoy everybody, but at least keep me company. Pocket knife with a nail file knife and clippers. This ceramic monkey that Joe made for me in high school that made it all the way across the country once and figured can do it again. My security stuff of mace and a whistle, and then a little shell that Aaron gave me when I got to the Atlantic. All right, these are all my lighting options. Got a rear light that's just bright as all get out. Front light, also bright as all get out. A secondary tail light. I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to mount this guy, but I had it from my walk, and so figure I can put it to good use here. And my headlamp, which isn't super bright, but it gets the job done really well, and super light, super compact, fits right in my fanny pack. Sunscreen, need it. Chapstick, need it. Dental hygiene stuff, I guess my toothbrush is still in the bathroom and I'm not going to grab it, but I've got one. Shaving, deodorant, definitely going to need it. This is soap, Dr. Bronner soap and mouthwash, and I've found for a little life hack, backpacking life hack in general, these little Mio containers, like little water enhancer squirter things, are fantastic containers for liquids that you want to bring with you backpacking. They hold like a couple ounces, and if it's something that you don't need a ton of and you need some lightweight way of carrying liquid, these really do the trick. And my little carrying case for all that. Got my moleskin, a couple band-aids, some wet ones, carrying case for that. Multivitamins, collagen, or what the heck is this? This is glucosamine, which I've never really used before, but I definitely feel some knee, ankle, joint pain after that walk, and so I figure it's worth giving them a shot. Fiber pills, which I found are really useful when you're not eating a tremendously good diet, and I actually found on days when I was kind of running out of food that I could pop a couple pills of fiber, and it would end up kind of alleviating that hunger. Got some vitamin I right there, ibuprofen, which does a pretty good job of keeping me going, and then some melatonin, which is great for those nights when you wake up in the middle of the night, it's freezing, and you can't fall back asleep, and you're just praying for the sun to come up. You can just pop one of these instead and drift back on into sleep land and wake up in the morning rather than having to lay awake miserable all night. Here I've got some backup reflective tape. Not sure if I'm going to bring this whole roll, but it looks like it's not sticking super well to my kind of dynamic movement of my saddlebags, and so I might end up either trying to figure out a better way of affixing this tape to my saddlebags, or just bring a bunch of spares so I can keep reapplying it as I go, because it is really reflective, really visible, but it's kind of tough to get to stick to irregular surfaces. Got some duct tape, which is super handy, my backup bike pump, my bike tool. In the red bag, we've got a spare tube and a bunch of zip ties. In the little black box, we have a patch kit, U-lock, and a cable for locking up the bike. And then also a tiny little combo lock that I'm going to string through my saddlebags if I ever have to leave them, just so somebody can't, quick grab them off my bike and run away. This guy is something I saw on a bike blog that I thought was a really ingenious idea of a bike alarm, where, when you go to bed at night, maybe if you don't have a super good place to lock up your bike, you string this on your spokes, and then if somebody, comes in the middle of the night and tries to walk away with your bike, at least you can hear them doing it. And then we've got my saddlebags. We got just a general wet or a waterproof bag right there that I'm going to keep on the top, on top of the rack on my back. And then 2 waterproof saddlebags here. I'll be going down to the garage and fitting these to the bike and doing a bit more of a explanation of them there. And then just a whole ton of gallon and quart Ziploc bags and trash bags that I'm putting everything in to keep it organized. And that's all my gear. So if you have any ideas on things that I have missed, or things that you think are really dumb things to bring, please... Oh, hey, I almost forgot. Please let me know. And then here we have my helmet with the GoPro mount on the top, and this little articulating mirror on the side, which is going to be super useful to keeping me alive.